Okay, let me. Cool, we on now. I got it on Twitch, got it on IG. You ready, boss?
Always.
Cool. What's up, y'all? My name is Corey Stay Trapping. This is Trap Talks, the intersection of culture and tech. And I got my guy here, Dominic Nelson, serial entrepreneur, operations specialist, Houston native, multi-time entrepreneur. He's doing Trapplements, which is an energy drink. I tasted it. It's actually good. I was glad I was able to tell him it tasted good. I was gonna tell him like, nah, this drink no taste good, but it's really a good drink. Also the co-founder or founder of Klebtech, right? Which is a restaurant app. Did I miss anything?
Nah, I mean, recently we started getting into investment properties, but it's all somewhat of the same, yeah.
Right. Cool, man. So let's start it. Like, I remember you told me that you started, I guess, your entrepreneurship journey when you were selling CDs.
Yeah.
Right, and then you did a massive flip on that.
Yes.
Right. So tell us about that.
I mean, early on, truthfully, it just started from my grandfather used to take us to and from. Should I look at? Okay, I'm looking.
Yeah.
So my grandfather used to take us to and from Louisiana. Like every summer, we would go there, visit my grandmother. Those long drives, obviously, you have a lot of time to talk, a lot of time to reflect, and then it kind of instills some principles that you can start living by. But one time when we came back, I was 13, and I think at that point I'm starting to go into quote unquote manhood, if you will, just because of the environment. You grow up very, very rapidly. But ultimately, before I got out of the blue minivan, he pulls me back and he tells me, he's like, hey, I don't want you to be a burden to your mom. Not because I was doing anything egregious. It was just more or less like, I need you to be an anchor of support for your mother. And that word burden, even at 13, I didn't know what it meant. Yeah. But the way that he said it, I knew it was something that I didn't want to be, didn't want to do. So I took that and I started to look at other avenues to be able to contribute in any way that I could, just for the well-being of myself, my brothers, and things of that sort. So ultimately what transpired from there is my former stepdad, he played in the CFL. He was out of town and he had this bread case of CDs and they're sitting there. And obviously, you know, like over time in the summer, like no one's going to want to buy old CDs. Like,
right.
So I'm like, I tell my mom, I said, hey, mama, can you call Lorenzo and see if I can sell his CDs? And she was like, no, you can't do that. I said, please just call him. So she calls him. He jokingly tells her, if he can sell them, he can have the money. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go out and I sell it. And one day I make $500, like literally $500 just selling CDs to people in the community. I go to the car wash. And then from there, I'm like, wait, I need to kind of step it up. Sure enough, my grandmother flew in from Boston. She gave me all of her change that she used to have. I know people don't even carry cash no more, but She gives me this change. It was $365 or $365 in coins. I go to the local Kroger's. I dump it in the machine. I cash out. I go right next door to, I think it was Office Depot, and I bought me a CD and DVD burner. And then from there, I made $4,000 in 3 months. And it was good and bad. It was bad primarily because when my mom found the money, just due to the environment we were in, she thought I was doing illegal activity. So she thought I was doing something that I wasn't supposed to, and like selling things that I wasn't supposed to, but I wasn't. So I told her the story. I kind of showed her my early operation, if you will. And then my mom did something else that was very pivotal in my journey. She took me to the bank, and instead of her like, hey, ma'am, I need to open up a bank account, she put me in a position where she's like, the lady was only talking to her. And my mom was like, no, talk to my son. This is his account. I'm going to help him set it up. And I set up my own account. And then from there, just became fascinated with seeing things go as like an idea to like, how can I take it to the next step? But that was the early stages. So that word burden, not wanting to be that, and then seeing the power of ownership because of my mom taking me to Chase Bank.
Yeah. So what was your sales pitch when you were selling CDs?
Easy. I think it's still the same, still to this day, transparency. It's like you won't sign up for a phone bill unless you know how much you possibly going to be charged for it. So even back then, like I think the music in a sense kind of changed because not everyone's driving around with the big speakers. But back then I was like, hey, just put it in. Hey, just put it in. Hey, just put it in. And people put it in, the music started playing, it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And then when we started to advance a little further, just like doing DVDs of like local events, people became fascinated with wanting to see it. And my grandfather got me a little DVD player. So I was able to open it up, check it out. Oh, the quality is amazing. And that was like our competitive advantage, if you will. So that actually helped us elevate.
So that was like the early 2000s. That's when big white tees were in, right?
Yeah.
So you had the big white tee on, with your DVD player on, like by this.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. And I had like a duffel bag. I was organized though, man. Like
I had a duffel bag.
Yeah, I had a duffel bag, and then inside of my mom's house, we had like it was just racks. Everything was organized. We had it in a book, like B12 meant this CD, B13. Like it was good. I mean, that came from just watching my former stepdad like organize my football cards. I was like, oh, the Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs, like he organized, and I was like, oh, I can apply that same organization method to this.
Yeah. And
yeah, it helped us. But yeah, I was done every day, probably like 1 or 2 o'clock, and that was it. I started playing games, being a kid.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So this is so these CDs you were selling, you were downloading the music on Napster, right? And then LimeWire?
I wasn't. So I know about Napster, I know about LimeWire. My good friend Charles, who's probably well known now in this city, cooks for a lot of famous people. But back then I would go to Charles and be like, hey man, can you help me out? So I would buy through him. And that's ultimately what transpired. Yeah. Okay. So he was the person that I need original X, Y, and Z. He'll burn it, and then I would use that and replicate it.
Yeah. And because see, I was downloading mine from Napster.
Yeah, I'm sure you was too.
Yeah, because Napster, I love Napster, and then LimeWire. LimeWire was when that kind of like when I threw in the towel because I was catching so many viruses.
Oh yeah, could download.
People were rapping viruses in the MP3. So you think you downloading the song and you just don't hear nothing. You like, oh, I just got
computer shutting down.
Yeah, and I had to get it fixed.
Oh man, we've come a long way since then. You don't have to worry about that now.
Right.
Just immediate streams on everything.
Yeah. So what was it like the next thing you did after that?
At that point, it was, how do I get out?
Yeah.
How do I get out of this environment? Just do something that could potentially set me up better. So went to college. I went to several colleges actually. My first semester of school was at Texas Tech.
Okay.
Different environment. You go from a predominantly black high school to a predominantly white school. I would say culture shock wasn't even a word. It was just like very unfamiliar. Like, what is this? I'm out here by myself. But I think at that point in time, it gave me an opportunity to kind of like start building relationships.
Right.
And then from there, I was able to get into TSU and then advance a step further into an avenue of being able. Being.
Nah, they ain't from here. Nah, this trap talks, but y'all can join in if y'all want to listen. Yeah.
It's conversation.
So what time y'all start?
Right now.
You got behind that, but okay, hold on. I'm not right back. Hold on. Let's trap talk.
All right. I was very interested.
This is why I love the live stuff. You just gotta go.
You gotta go with it. Yeah.
So I know you was talking about the culture shock.
Yeah. What's next? Like after that early phase, I went to ultimately landed at TSU, and then from there I was able to see Michael Strahan be like a great visible party that contributed in his own way, and then I started looking into joining the Coast Guard because my grandfather was in the military, my uncle was in the military.
Okay.
And I did an internship with them. I was the first African American to intern for the United States Coast Guard at Texas Southern University. And I was like, cool, be the first to do something. And then after that, when I went and did the internship, of course they paid, but it was more like, dang, there's people out here that don't accept mediocrity. Like it's the best or nothing else. And that's what I became fascinated with. I just didn't understand how can you be regular? How can you be average when there's an opportunity to be the best? Because that's what I saw. Like every day, everybody had attention, looking good, professional, knowledgeable. I'm like, So I took that nugget. I ended up graduating, got my degree in maritime transportation management and security, and I haven't used it at all.
You know how to swim though? You really good at swimming?
No, I'm not good at swimming.
Oh,
No,
wow.
but I'm not afraid of the water, so I will try. I just never did any like real training. Yeah, but I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah. So I want to take a step back and talk a little more about like how was it growing up in Houston? Like how is Houston different from when you grew up to where it is now?
I mean, when you're younger, your transportation is your mother, your father, whomever it may be.
Right.
So your bubble was only as far as that car would go. Everything felt bigger. Obviously, you're a kid.
You're a kid, yeah.
Yeah, so like going downtown, that was an event. Going to the south side, that was an event because I lived on the north side of Houston. But being on the north side, Greens Point has a good and bad reputation depending on your experience there. But it became known as like Guns Point because of the violence, because of whatever. But in that environment, it's so eclectic. You can see people doing good things, you see people doing bad things. So it's like at all points of time, you can choose which path you want to take. You want to do good, you want to do bad. And you can immediately see if I take a bad path, what it will lead to. And you can immediately see, man, if I just stay disciplined, this will be good. So growing up here for myself, it was an eclectic experience. And then as I got older, I went to the suburbs. Worst decision of my life. I do not like the suburbs. To me, like, is a great place for family environments and family structures, but it's very, to me, it feels isolated. You know, it's like people making it home, they pull into their garage, the garage goes down. You may get a wave if you're lucky, but that's really it.
Yeah.
And then as I've gotten older, being downtown, being in the city, what your wife said, Edo, being out here, you get in the elevator and it's like, hey man, I got a podcast. Hey man, I got this, I got that. Like, how can we merge our energies to create something? I'm like, this is what I like. That's all. Like, I've always commuted from the north side to go to that type of collaborative environment, but now I live in it. So it's like, even if I have a long day because I've been working, I'm always recharged because I may bump into somebody in the elevator and they tell me, yo, today was amazing, I did this. Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, like, how can we merge our energy? So I've seen it morph. I think now the tech space is truly more defined than it was before. I think you see a lot of blue collar early on when I was here, but now you see people white collar, blue collar. You see the influence of tech. The culture here, especially in the Black community, is so more profound, if you will, than what I remember growing up. For sure. So I've enjoyed it, and you can see a lot of people such as yourself. You're enjoying it too.
I love Houston, man. I love Houston because it's just so Black.
Yeah.
Where I'm from, I grew up Goldsboro, North Carolina. The city was Black. Right. And so, you know, going to the West Coast, you know, that was, and specifically San Francisco it was like 2% Black, you know.
That's like my experience going to Texas Tech.
Yeah. But see, I went to college, and so when I went to college, I went to UNC Chapel Hill. That kind of brought me in, and that's when I developed more of like an international mindset. I was meeting people from Singapore, meeting people from England. Wow. Like, I was meeting people from like everywhere, all walks of life.
Would you say that had like a profound effect of the man that you are today? Like,
oh yeah, totally. Because it definitely helped me realize that we're all the same. You know, we're different in that, you know, different melanation. Right. We come from different geographies. We have different stories, but pretty much everybody the same, right? They want to pay their bills. They want to have a good life. They want to have fun.
Take care of their family.
People are like generally the same. And it definitely helped me with what I'm doing now. Like, I can create a conversation with anybody.
Anyone, yeah.
But the funny thing is I'm more introverted. But most people don't see that, you know what I'm saying?
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm introverted as well, but I understand for the need of carrying a message, you gotta do what we do.
Right. So I've heard people talk about Houston, right? They're like, the north side is different from the south side, the east side. It's a comedian named Black Snow. He does a lot of. I actually reached out to him for an interview, trying to work that out. But
it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You know,
Especially what you're doing. It's incredible.
I shoot shots.
Yeah. And they go in. They go in. Steph Curry.
Yeah. So how would you describe like the personality, the different sides of Houston?
I think a shared personality amongst the city, just in general, from my experience, it's more conservative. Like people are not as boisterous as you are. Like you want to converse. And I say that because more often than not, my engagements with people that tend to like probably prosper into a relationship in terms of collaboration or friendship or just having a shared like belief, they're usually from other places because they're more open to have a conversation. Like I'll give you an example. I'm in the elevator and this person like, hey man, what's going on? I said, hey, wait. I said, I bet you $1 million you're not from the city. It's like, no, I'm not from here. I'm from New York. And I know that. So
you heard in the accent though.
No. He didn't sound like he was from Bronx or Brooklyn or nothing. It's just the way he carried himself. I know people in this city probably a little bit more reserved. And then they'll open up as you kind of peel back the layer. But every pocket is different, primarily just, geographically located. Some of the focus levels of just those environments. But I think the biggest difference is the suburbs and the city. It's just like two different worlds. It doesn't really matter like if you go east with the suburbs, west with the suburbs, or far north like the Woodlands. It's just different from the city. And I think that's indicative of all cities across America, to be honest with you. But that's the experience with it.
Yeah. So have you left Houston, or you've been here your whole like?
In terms of travel or like living?
Like I've moved different places throughout my life. Have you primarily stayed in Houston?
I lived out, of course, Lubbock, Levelland, Texas. So primarily Texas was like all the places I lived. In terms of visiting, I've been a lot of places. My most preferred place, California.
Oh, really? What part?
I did like San Francisco, but it's kind of different now.
Yeah.
But either that or
probably like Oakland more though, honestly.
Long Beach, or Oakland. I haven't been to Oakland.
Long Beach, she loves Long Beach.
Long Beach,
she loves Long Beach,
And I like it not due to the weather, but the weather's amazing. But more so like the times I've been, even if it's like Afrotech, whatever, it's just people seem to be more drawn to like, let's figure out how we can elevate together. And I'm not saying they're not like that here in the city. It's definitely has gotten to that point. But like being out there, it was my first time experiencing it as a rush. Like everyone wants to do it. It's like, oh, okay, you can't work with everyone. Like so cool.
That's like the norm out there. Like particularly in the Bay, like people just willing to help.
That's amazing.
Like, people are go-givers automatically. You know what I'm saying?
Go-givers, not go. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And for everybody listening, a go-giver is someone who basically gives, right? They're willing to help out someone else. A go-getter is someone who's more, and I don't think being a go-getter is bad, but it's more of like a individual idea, right? Where you're like, hey, I'm chasing this, I'm doing me, blah, blah, blah. I think you need a good mix of both.
Both, 100%.
Yeah.
At all times.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So you graduated, and I remember we were talking about how you had an offer, and then you looked at the offer like, wow, this is a lot, but then you decided to chase entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Did I get it right? Tell us more. Tell us more about it.
So getting out of college, like the goal is obviously to get some type of job or better yet, a career.
Right.
So the career offer I had was for $70,000 in the maritime industry, which aligned with my degree. But the crazy part is like I've always been drawn to older people, probably because I've always been around, my grandfather. And also a lot of my friends that were in college, they were older than me.
Right.
And I saw like, man, they graduated, they got the same degree as me, they had the same teachers, same grades, and they graduate and then they get the condo, then they get the Audi. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's it. Like that story just didn't make sense to me. It's like, So I'm like, nah, like I want to see if I can bet on myself. And I come from an environment where you don't have much, so you don't really feel like you're taking a chance. You just, this is the bottom, so why not see if I can, go and do something else. Plus, I've always been drawn to like just impact, man. Like this is not like me trying to make this up. At 13, I swear this is on everything. I had $4,000 initially. The only thing that I knew like people were doing with money was paying bills. So I'm like, damn, this is like life. You're gonna just pay bills. So then my immediate attention went towards how can I not just like pay bills, but actually be drawn to something that's more impactful. And that's like, it changes the way that I view the world, man, honestly, with all honesty.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Like I agree with you. Like I talk about, and you have this too. It's like you have a high risk appetite.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not a lot of people.
Calculated risk, though.
Well, yeah, calculated risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and that's one thing that is good about having a woman in your life, because it forces you to say like, all right, I can push,
Right.
I can push the pedal, but so far.
So
you know
far,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
I'm like, baby, let's do this.
Right.
She's like, nah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I have a minimum or whatever. And the one thing I love about what you say a lot is I hit you up and you be like, yo, Corey, I've been out missing because, we going to bed at 8 because we got stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
I think that's imperative. I mean, sometimes we all get extremely busy where communication may fall, but never ghosting or becoming absent just because. Like, that's not a good thing in any capacity.
Right.
Yeah, no matter what, I try to honor my word. I think that's important.
Right.
It's really important, yeah.
Right. So when you so you rejected the offer, and then what? Then did Club Tech come into play then?
Yeah. So my senior year of college, what transpired is like the same conversation that I think we all have when we in any journey, whether it's college or not.
Mm-hmm. Are they already on?
Okay.
Yeah, let's turn these on. Okay. So that way.
These some cool mics. It look like Mariah Carey used these. Like.
Testing. Okay, cool. That works. All right,
It's even better.
Yeah. So we can just exchange this one. It's working.
That's not good. Okay,
cool.
Let's do it. Like this.
Yeah. So we can use this one.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So start it over. What you got for me? What was the question?
What was the question? I forgot now.
Exiting. I got it.
Because you rejected the 70K offer.
Yeah.
And then you said, what was it, Club Tech that came next?
Yeah. So at that time, I think everyone, when they reach an endpoint, they're thinking about like, what's next, right? What's going to happen? What can I get involved in? And for me, I have to know like the next step. I got to. It's imperative. I can't just take that risk without being calculated. So I'm in the shower at my grandfather's house. I made it like a very important decision in my life to live my senior year with my grandfather. Why? Because I know like the next step is true manhood.
Senior in high school?
No, college.
Okay.
My senior year in college with my grandfather, primarily because I knew this is like, bro, after this, you a grown man, like 100%. So I wanted to just try to like soak in as much insights and understandings that I may have had an opportunity to gain. But I took a shower like one day, it was like 2:00 in the morning, and very reflective state, like what's next after this journey, like ends with college. So I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about my experience in college. I'm thinking about the offer, and then the most random thought happens. I'm like, yo, my lunch keeps getting stolen at school. Like my friend Roman would bring chicken nuggets, like very cost-effective stuff. So I'm like, let me do that as well. So he brings these chicken nuggets. I started to do the same. I would put it in the community center or whatever. It would always get stolen, but it's nothing like extremely delicious. It's just nuggets. And I started to have that thought while I was in the shower. And then immediately from there, I was like, yo, what if I could design a system that has multiple compartments, infuse it with some level of technology, and we place them at every college campus, because I'm sure it's happening everywhere. But true enough, I hop out the shower, like just throw in a towel. I barge into, thank you so much. I barge into my grandfather's room and I'm like, Papa, I got an idea. He's old. I damn near scared him half to death. But I'm like, Papa, I got this idea. I think it could work. So he gets up, and I think this is really pivotal in my entire journey. He starts to talk to me. Like, he could have said, hey, man, wait till the morning. And that, sometimes in a moment, that's when the ideas appear. Yeah. And they're big. And you had a conversation, you kind of condense it.
Hold on. What time is this?
It's got to be like 2:30, 3:00, like in the morning, early, like literally, because I couldn't sleep. I'm like, yo, I'm about to graduate. What am I going to do? Am I going to do the Coast Guard as an officer? Like, so, yeah, we had a conversation. We knock it around for like at least 45 minutes. I go to bed, And the next day, I'm like, okay, I approached college, like the final 3 months, a little differently. I'm starting to look at like what engineers can help me build this, where to get funding for a technology company. What is a technology company? How to set up an LS? Like literally, my thoughts became different. And it's literally because he woke up. If he didn't wake up, sometimes that excitement kind of died down because you come to a reality of like, oh, that's probably crazy, bro. What are you thinking? But yeah, that moment changed my life. So literally after that, I graduated. I turned down the 70,000 and I just pursued this. I'm like, whatever it takes to manifest this reality, I'm going to do it. And I got this book. Every job I've ever had has always been like intentional. Because I turned down 70K, then I go and get a job making $14.75 at Southwest Airlines. There's no, like, the money is not the same, right? 70K, $14.75 is not the same. But what I knew was a job, my mom used to say, a job is just a vehicle for higher ground. Job is a vehicle for higher ground, like, because we come from a very entrepreneurial, like, family. So with that understanding, I'm like, okay, what higher ground can this job take me to? And I worked at Southwest. They gave me free flights. And I could trade my schedule, so I wasn't like forced to be there every day. So literally, I would go there, like, oh, it's an event in Atlanta. I'll go to Georgia Tech. Oh, there's an event in North Carolina where my uncle lives, so I can go there and then I can stay with him. Oh, there's Afro Tech in California. I can literally go there. Like that job.
Oh yeah, you was really trapping, huh?
Literally all over. Like just trying to gain insight and understanding, but it came from him having that conversation with me and just me being fascinated with the possibilities of this thing that now exists called Tech, became what is now known as the Yummy Box. Like, yeah, without that moment, it wouldn't have happened. But it's kind of like you crazy in a way, because when I was at Southwest, I got this book, Principles and Power of Vision by Dr. Monroe. Outside of whatever people think about religion, it's just some fundamental principles about life. Like, it talks about if you look at anything in the world, it takes two people to create, like life itself, right? A kid. But if you look at any business, it's indicative in there. You can see it too, like Drake and 40 with their music career.
Drake, Snoop,
Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak,
Tim Cook, Steve Wozniak,
It literally just goes on and on and on and on. So in that book, it's like these fundamental principles helped me become a better entrepreneur, which helped me just continue to manifest and draw into the right people and create. And then I read probably a book that everybody should read, like the Steve Jobs book. Helped me understand that no matter how much money you make, no one knows what the hell they're doing. Like, because the media portrays like everyone's well-defined, they're well understood, they know exactly. This man was like, became fascinated with computers, and most don't know he was adopted. But you gotta think, like, he was adopted into a family that was in a particular neighborhood right next to his co-founder that ultimately becomes Apple, that is now one of the most profitable companies in the world. But think about how did that happen? You know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy.
So when you read that, you're like, okay, maybe my idea isn't that big. Like, he did that, I could do it too, and you just pursue it. Is it gonna work? Sometimes it don't. Like, our vision has evolved, but most treat their business like a baby. I don't. Like, it's not a baby. It's an operation. And you have an opportunity to bring other people in to make it eclectic and evolves and it grows and it turns into something more. But when you have a kid, you kind of protect it. Like, no, don't talk to that stranger.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a journey.
Me and you talked about this before, but basically when I'm testing out a new idea, when we go to people who automatically know us, they tend to give us a biased opinion. Like, they see us doing it, they're like, oh, great, you're doing this, da-da-da. But I like to reach out to people who don't even know me.
Right.
And if they are with it, then I'm like, okay, I'm on to something.
You're on to something.
I'm on to something.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, I can agree to that. You have your immediate core that believes in you or will test or try something that you're doing. But a stranger, they have no reason to even test or try or to believe. So if they do, you got something special.
Yeah, you definitely do. Yeah. So tell us more about the Yummy Box. How it actually works.
Yeah, so ultimately we help restaurants automate takeout using sustainable smart lockers. It's literally like, think of like Amazon locker, but for food. What makes it distinctively different is, like, I had this vision of sustainability early on before it became mainstream. how do you create? Because I watched this movie and it changed my perspective. There's so much waste, like people starving, not because it's a lack of food, but it's a lot of inefficiencies. And systematically you get a lot of write-offs when you do a lot of waste, whatever. But I watched this movie and it changed my perspective. I'm like, hey, I want to build something that's more sustainable. So with these lockers, we partnered with Gallon's Barbecue, Lucy Pearls, This Is It Soul Food. We had a restaurant out in North Carolina, Wisconsin, and also we did an operation in Seattle. But literally, that's an idea in the shower that became that. But it evolved. It morphed into something bigger. At first, it was literally, let me keep this person from stealing my lunch. And then it moved into, wait, people are ordering online now. Nobody wants to wait. You order online because it's convenient.
Right.
Then you get to the store, you got to wait. Nah, come on, that has to be better. So we literally pivoted to the restaurant space to make takeout faster for the everyday customer. And now Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub as well. So you order online at gallons.com, if you will. Once you order online, you get a text message precisely when your order's ready. That's good, because when you walk into the restaurant, you know definitively my order's ready. You go in there, it's in an insulated box, type in your verification code, your access code, grab and go. So it's been good. We did 38,000 pickups, and that momentum led us to being like exposed to Damon John on Shark Tank. And then also, I say this humbly, a lot of the stuff and traction that we've gotten, we became the success story for a lot of the spaces now that are inviting tech, like Station Houston, which is now the Ion. Because of the early success that we've had, it helped them be able to gain momentum as well. They helped us, but you can't have an organization that exists without being able
Without
to,
a success story.
yeah, you're like, yo, this person came in and worked. But it's been good, man. So we've done that now. Thankfully, this week, I set my intentions, and I met an individual that I just brought onto my company to help us grow our sales. I think sometimes people want sales immediately, but growth sometimes can make you crumble, man. Because it's fascinating. You're like, yo, I can make this in a week. And you become addicted to like, oh, I can make this in a week.
Right.
But then you got to think about, what about a week later? Like, how is it going to grow? So now we're ready to take on people that can help us grow and expand.
Yeah. You talked about like sustainable growth, and it was like when I was in the Bay, there was like a lot of companies where they raised a lot of money, and the valuation was too high. It was multiples higher than their sales, which typically companies, when they're evaluated, I'm thinking of like software as a service companies. I think they have a valuation like 10x their revenue. But I've seen countless stories of like companies just being overvalued, and then they get to the public markets, and then they're like devalued. Uber's a good example of that. It's a lot. And then I remember when the scooter companies came out, they jumped. It was a bunch of them. They jumped $1 billion valuations. Then the city of San Francisco was like, hey, we're only giving out like 3 permits, and that killed most of them.
All of it, yeah.
Right. So I like what you said about sustainable growth, because it's not necessarily about gaining customers. It's about keeping them and making sure you're solving a real problem.
This is real. Like, so the other day, this lady, Rachel Aspen, somebody I met, it was at Houston Technology Center, which I think is converted over to something else now. But I met her early on, and we were going over business plans, and we were going over projections. And I was like, Rachel, like, how are we doing these projections? Oh, you just think about what your company could do. And I was like, so what is that based on? So she gives me like these different metrics, but at the end of the day, from the environment that I come from, of like early on selling CDs, like, you're just gonna make up a number and you're just gonna say you can possibly have these customers. It just didn't make sense to me. And you're gonna say, oh, in 3 months we're gonna have everything working, like technology. It didn't make sense. So like other people in the space, in my cohort, there was 10 companies, 8 of them don't exist like right now. It's only myself and someone else. But and it's crazy because they took $1 million. They literally got $1 million. But it never, like, I still to this day, I can't understand, how do you get $1 million in funding? How do you get 10 million, 100 million, and your business fails? But you know what it is? People become over leveraged because it's a different game that's being played. Like, if you raise more money, you go to another round, it makes your valuation go up, and that's good on paper. But bro, at the end of the day, it boils down to exactly what Drake in a song said, and it makes total sense to me. Don't tell me what your valuation is. Tell me how much you profited. And that has always stuck with me. I'm not trying to tell you, yeah, I got companies worth $50 million and I got $10 in a bank account. Like, no, that's not cool to me.
I thought you was gonna bring up the other line when he's like, they say you say you a model, but you just on IG.
Oh, that's a different story. That's a different story. But yeah, that's true too.
But to your point, 85. I read a stat. It said 85% of startups who raise money end up failing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's news to me.
Yeah.
It makes sense though. It truly does.
Yeah.
It truly does. I think you can see it. I mean, Elizabeth Holmes with Theranos, the list goes on and on. I think these ideas be so big and they can be executed. But I think
she was a little bit different though.
Yeah,
I mean that was like,
I didn't know her father was part of Enron. I literally just learned.
Honestly, bro, you just mentioned that to me. It's not surprising.
At the top, like a head dog, like
you do it in your blood, right? Like
you do what you see.
So Enron was the reason why Sarbanes-Oxley was invented.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because they was lying on their books. They was doing a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But
I lost my thought. I was about to say something. This is what I was about to say. Yeah. So the fact that you didn't raise money,
mm-hmm.
You're actually in that 15% that didn't raise money, but you lasted longer.
Yeah. And now we're at a point, I'm not saying we got it all figured out with that company, but what I do know definitively is like, we haven't been forced to compromise in any aspect. Like I put in almost $60,000. The money that I raised was $32,500. That's small. That's peanuts, man. I'll tell you.
And that was from family and friends?
No. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. It's just divine. Like I met this guy, Jay, Houston Technology Center. I pitched there. He's like, we go out. He said, hey man, I'll invest in you. I was like, me? Like this is new to me. Why me? Why my company? He was like, I think you could do something. And just having a belief, like you said, beyond your friends and family, it changes you. It's like, okay, maybe this is something bigger. And he invested $12,500, and then I advanced further. This was super strategic, but the time it had nothing to do with me. Right before COVID hit, I had already knew about it like 2 months prior because we were bringing lockers from China, and the lady was telling me, like, I probably don't have no emails. It was on Alibaba, probably messages on there. But she was telling me, she was like, Dom, there's people here getting very sick. And we don't know what it is. So when you get these lockers in, just leave them outside for a few days. I swear on everything. So I think I got some old pictures at my mom's house. The lockers was sitting outside. I'm like, I don't know what it is. I told my mom, and I worked in warehouses too. So I'm thinking maybe it's the dust in the warehouse. I didn't know what it was. But at that point, I started to think a little bit differently because my background is maritime, like transportation, imports, exports. I'm like, man, you know what? We need to beef up on our suppliers. We can't be too dependent on one. So I end up seeing this crazy guy, David. He's probably somewhere in the world right now doing something crazy. He's using his phone to back up his car to Tesla. I'm like, yo, what is this? Like, how are you doing this? And he starts to tell me with great enthusiasm and excitement. So I was like, this dude is fascinated with tech just as much as I am. And I tell him, I said, hey man, my name is Dom. I'm working on this thing. He was like, hey, come into the office. So we go into the office. His other friend was interested in investing. David was just somebody that was there. And long story short, David ends up investing $20,000. So that's where the $32,500 came from. But the strategic component was Jay background is in tech. So he does tech support. And I knew he can help me develop the application we had. And then David background is sales. My background is sales. I just try to connect. That's it. But he came in and we started to develop from there. And that's how the whole funding component, and then all the money that I was getting from working at Southwest at the time, that was the money I was just pouring into the business. Of course, if I would have took $70K, I would have money faster, but I wouldn't have had an opportunity.
You wouldn't have had the time
to read the books I read, to like really, man, we sitting there, we loading planes with different items, sodas and stuff like that, but you get a flight, then you might have 2 hours before another one. Man, that's enough time to read a book. Like I read Damon John's book, I forgot the Power of Broke. I read that there, and it's like, man, you don't have to have it all figured out in terms of financially. How can you build an MVP that gets you to your customer? But it's been very amazing, man. Truthfully.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Truthfully.
cool. Yeah. So tell us, how did you get Damon John to write you a check?
Right place, right time. Right place, right time, man. Ultimately, I don't think a lot of people probably see what he does on Shark Tank. I think it's profound, but it's VC, man. That's still a game that I don't like to play in any capacity. I would probably never utilize venture capital unless I see it from a different light. But at that time, he was doing things in the community because COVID was a big thing and Black businesses across America were failing. It's already, statistically speaking, we don't get a lot of capital as to begin with, and even to have a business open and running and functional and having customers is a win. But imagine all that gone overnight. So he started Black Entrepreneurs Day with the intent to ensure that Black people had an opportunity to keep their businesses running, keep their businesses functioning. And of course, it's gamified in the sense that it's you have to apply, so everyone doesn't get the capital. It wasn't like a stimulus check or anything like that. So I remember vividly, man, I fill out this application for Black Entrepreneurs Day, and I'm at TSU. I'm in the parking garage. Nobody's there. For me, I'm a start-finish guy. I'm not, my mom say, don't bring homework home. It's like, what? Don't bring homework home. So I literally brought, like, I would do everything, I'll come home and I'll relax. But that stuck with me.
So hold on, you sure you didn't throw the homework away?
No, I did it because them grades, if they weren't right, yeah, you're gonna see a belt. So I did my work for sure. Yeah. But yeah, man, don't bring homework home. That changed me. So I'm at TSU and I'm completing the application. But the thing is like, when you fill in our applications, whether it's a grant or anything, you can't just tell your story. You got to tell the story that resonates with whatever they're trying to fulfill. Because they have an end goal too. Just like you have an end goal with this, right? Like they have an end goal. And I've been really blessed to be able to like understand how to dissect words to a point where I can convey a message in a thoughtful way that actually unlocks the next step. So I stayed there literally all day, had my laptop, had my hotspot, I'm in the garage and just working, and I'm looking at the city. I'm seeing the city. And I'm like, bro, you want to win? Get this done. You want to win? Like, I'm just talking to myself. I'm there by myself. I hit submit, like, with intent. And I'm on the phone a couple of weeks later talking to my Uncle John. We're just talking about, like, just life and next steps. And then they call. Like, I take that back. That's not true. I get an email, and I'm being rude because I'm looking at my emails as he's talking to me. But I'm like, yo, I just got this message. Like, this is $25,000. You're like, what? And I'm reading, we don't have to pay it back. I'm like, this is 25 grand. So I'm like, this is amazing. So from there, the $25,000 turned into even more, because then we fly out to New York, we go to Harlem, they do the live event. It changed me like tremendously, man. I've been able to have personal conversations with them, get insights and understandings. But I think at the end, it just kind of boils back to the same story. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. Like, you have the media portrayal of like other people, but we all just finding our way. And that right there, like that 25K put us in a position where we can grow, and it created national awareness of ClevTech. And I was like, okay, this is how the media works. Like, that's a whole, and I think some companies are really good with PR. They can raise money, but their execution doesn't always follow. So that's how that transpired with Mr. Damon John.
Yeah, cool. I've been pumping this whole interview. Like, I'm gonna bring my boy Dom. He gonna talk about how he got, Damon John to write him a check. People like, I want to hear that. So I
want to say this too, though, because it's not just about the grant. I think most importantly, it's about like, when you get the capital, what do you do with it, right? Like, because otherwise, like I said, everybody wants to tell a success story. They don't want to just give 25K. So like, I sent this team an email, I want to say February, right after they did Black Entrepreneurs Day. That was last year. So right after that event transpired, I sent them an email just thanking them and like, hey, my company, and this is rare, this is a true story. We owe no one nothing. We have $0 in debt as a tech startup, or as a tech company just in general, which is rare. The average raise for a tech company is $500,000. I told you we raised $32,500. So to be in this position profitable with the ability to scale, have net 30s, net 45s, even net 90s with all of our suppliers, it's crazy. Like, it's a blessing, man. But
yeah, and to break that down, a net 30 is basically 30 days to pay.
yeah,
A net 60 accounts receivables, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So somebody owes you
depends on
money.
what end of,
It depends on, So I just want to break it down because you're using kind of some lingo. So
Oh yeah. No, it's true, and it's a way to be able to maintain your leanness too, instead of taking on, even with the Lifestyle Energy Boost drink supplements. It's real easy to be like, let's order 1 million of them. No, that's not, because once you become inventory heavy, you got to think about it. You only have so much capital. So, and none of my business, I don't take money from Clevtech and put it in the supplements. Like, I keep them all separate. I just want to see how all of them are going to grow, like individually. So my money that I profit is my money for my family, myself, my lady. But I like to see these entities grow. But one of the things I notice, and it's sad because people are very creative, they become inventory heavy. So they spend, like, let's say they have $100. I don't know. Say they have $100. They'll spend 90 on inventory. Now you got $10 left. You still got to think about marketing. You still got to think about intellectual property. You still got to think about building your website, operation management. What online tools are you going to use to help you scale and grow? That, to me, like, I go the opposite. I take 5, maybe 10% of what we have on inventory. And then I'll negotiate with the supplier. How do we get in that 30? How do we get in that 45? If we can't get that, okay, cool. Just recently, we didn't even ask for it, but I'm sure we can get it. I ended up messaging Carl. I'm like, hey, Carl, we want to ensure as we scale and grow, we can be able to get more orders in a very rapid way. Right now, our lead time is too long. It's like 4 to 6 weeks. By the time somebody's thirsty and they waiting 4 to 6 weeks to drink, they might change their mind. So I'm like, how do we reduce that time frame? He's like, oh, Dom, it's simple. We'll just print the labels. We'll have them ready to go. It doesn't take us any time to fill the drink. A week, you'll have your order within 2 weeks. Simple, but that was a big problem. You go from 4 to 6 weeks of waiting on product to 2 weeks most. People can wait 2 weeks, especially vendors. We just got to order on time. But it's staying lean. Lean is possible, man.
Yeah, and one of you kind of said it without saying it, but like one principle that I learned when I was taking like business courses in college, they call it just in time.
Just in time.
So if you remember, I think it was Compaq, one of their old commercials, where it actually was like the guy is a customer's calling in, talk to the operator, and then the visual is in the factory. And they got the person on the phone is like, I want this amount of memory, I want this color, and you can see it going through the assembly line.
Wow. Just in time delivery, basically.
Yeah, just in time. I forgot, it was created in Japan.
Okay.
I want to say Honda or something. I'm not for sure. Look it up. But basically, the idea is that you, like you said, right? You don't make your product in advance in bulk. You make it as you need it.
Yeah. You allow your business to tell you it's time to stand up, it's time to walk, it's time to run, it's time to jump, whatever. If you want to do all those things prematurely, and maybe it won't exist. And this is, like I said, it's sad because I see a lot of great concepts, things that actually do the 2 I's, impact and income, but they fail because the operation side, and it's different. Yeah.
Right. Sure. So you said something that I felt was interesting. I've actually heard it before. Why wouldn't you take venture capital money?
Like I said, I'm very intentional. So what I did 3 years ago, I worked at a company called Nuro. They do autonomous vehicles. I'm not going to get into all the particulars, but I will say this. I went there to learn, how did they raise $1 billion? Like, I literally was like, how do you even do that? And I went there. I started off in the car. I did 8 hours a day. Nothing in magical there besides, like, I'm trying to learn how software works so I can scale my company, Clevtech. And then I figure out, okay, you got to make sure, like, there's just pretty much a clear line between you and the software developers. Got to have your project management tool. Okay, cool, got it, easy. So then opportunity comes where I can get promoted. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Because 8 hours is 8 hours, might as well make triple what I'm making. So I get promoted and I become a supervisor. And then at that point, I started to understand operation management at a bigger scale. So I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to need to be able to grow my company. I read all the books. You can read, but you got to live it. You got to do it. So after I see, like, how you can actually grow operation, what I also realize is that some people in this environment are stressing themselves the hell out. And that's not a world that I want to be a part of. I go from Clev Tech having direct decisions immediately, this is what we do, to, okay, I think this is what we should do. And I tell someone else, and then they tell someone else, and then they tell someone else, and then they tell someone else. And I'm like, when are we going to do anything? So I learned, okay, inefficiencies actually hurt a company. So how do we minimize that? Like, I'm just applying all of this stuff. And then while at Nuro, what I realized, man, is like, people have raised money, but not all the time. And this is just not Nuro in general. This is tech space in general. Not everyone is executing like they're saying they're executing. That doesn't make sense to me. For one, it's bad, like just integrity-wise. But the second component, not just from an integrity standpoint, is that you're making false promises to people that are pouring in money because they believe what you're saying, what you're telling them. I don't think, because of the pressure that VCs put on companies, I see why they make those false promises, but that's not something that I want to do. And then you realize too, wait, banks have money too. They'll happily give you X amount with the right credit score. Nobody's tapping into that for the most part because VCs have become very popular through mainstream media, which is intentional, man. If you do your research on like, how did VC capital become so popular and why are most companies going that way? It's because they market it to like, oh, you got a tech company, man, you need a VC, you need to get on Shark Tank. Nah, you don't. Yeah. You actually don't. And if you don't, you may be able to still get to your end goal and own still majority of your company. But yeah, just never took VC capital primarily because I saw like people being pushed to do things that make promises that they couldn't keep. And then something that started off with this like amazing idea becomes something that makes them cry. And they hate it. And that, like, you got people, the guy with the shoes that was like, you buy a pair, you donate a pair. Like, it's different people that, like, yeah, I don't want to take that path. And I think to be able to raise funds, you could do that with the proper alignment, but it's not necessary all the time through VC portals.
Yeah, and I agree with you in that. To me, if I had a business that it made sense, I would take VC money. But I think my general rule with taking somebody else's money is that I want to take it on my terms, right? And so the company that I actually used to work at, Aurora Solar, they did like one round where they raised like $1 million or something like that, and then they bootstrapped for the rest for like, I want to say like 6 years or so. Okay. And then or 7 or 8 or whatever, and then 2021 I joined, and then the co-founder of the company, he actually referred me to his company, and I got the interview. Nice. And then 2 weeks later, they raised like $250 million. Wow. And then like a couple months later, they raised another $250 million. Wow. But they were able to raise it on their terms because they had such big recurring revenue. Right. His plan was to go public. Their plan still is to go public, even though they did like a massive layoff, and I got caught up in that. And so if I was him, I probably would have did the same thing as well, just because he was able to get the money on his terms. They kept the amount of board seats that they wanted. They still have control of the company. That's good. Right. If you look at like Mark Zuckerberg, he's one of the few ones to be able to do that. Right. Right. That's amazing. And to another point I want to bring up too is that when we were in a low interest rate environment, right, the money was so cheap to where you're just playing, these VCs are playing with banks' money. Right. Right. And so I actually have friends who raise money, and like it was almost like a bad thing that you had made money running your startup, because it's like, oh, you just made $100,000 or $1 million. That's it. Right. In the VC minds, in the venture capitalist mind at that time, again, this is before we raised the Fed raised all the interest rate. It was like, you're doing that. And so if you look at Facebook, that's why Facebook didn't have a monetization strategy until they probably went to Series A, B, C, maybe actually the last round right before they went public. That's why they brought in, she came from Google. She was Sheryl Sandberg. Yeah. That's why they brought her in.
The lady that wrote the book, Leaned In.
Leaned In, yeah. So it was a bad thing to make money, which is crazy. Yeah. Right.
But you can see the reverse effect is like massive layoffs. It's an inevitable thing, man. You have to turn a profit at some point, right? Because the profit, quote unquote, or the revenue is coming from the VCs, so to speak. And then the VCs want a return, right? So typically the return will come from, let's raise another round. And it increases the valuation, but you still haven't made no money.
Yeah.
Why? Like I tell people, like, yo, Uber not profitable. Like, what? How?
Yeah.
It makes you think that they are because they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. It's different. I think, like you said, it's all about strategic approaches. Like maybe now is not a good time, but maybe it is. I never rule it out, but so far I haven't taken that path.
Yeah.
If it makes sense in the future to do so, then we do.
Yeah. So I want to switch up the convo a little bit.
Okay.
You said something very like interesting when we did our pre-interview.
What's that?
No, actually, no, you didn't say it. I watched your interview you did with your boy in the gym.
Oh, okay.
And you was like, Lilo. What's the name of his podcast?
Man, that's a great question.
You're supposed to shout him out.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I was thinking about where you going with the question.
Yeah. So basically,
CEO. CEO Chronicles.
Yeah,
CEO Chronicles.
Yeah,
Lilo.
shout out to him.
CEO.
But you talked about how you go to the graveyard. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, well, you go to the graveyard. I ain't gonna lie, bro. I was like,
What is he talking
what
about?
are you talking about? So why do you go to the graveyard?
Before I answer that question, did it make sense when I finished?
Oh, it definitely did.
Okay.
It definitely did. I wouldn't do it, but
Man, I think one of the things that I'm okay with, and it's gonna sound weird because I don't really say it publicly, but like I'm okay with I'm okay with death. I think it's just a part of the life experience, and I think in America, it's a sad thing. In other countries, it's a celebration, you know. But for me, understanding that my time here is limited, it forces me to not think about how I'm feeling so much. You know, like truthfully, I've been up since 6. Truthfully, my lady and I've been at an investment property all day. Truthfully, like I had an interview earlier, like if I sit here and I really just think about how I'm feeling, I'm like, man, I need to get some sleep. But I think it's just understanding that my time here is short. Let me make an impact as best as I can. And like when I go to the graveyard, it's more or less just like letting anything that's not serving me die. And I think there's hopefully it's not sound crazy, but I think there's things that in the tech space you kind of know, like Apple has iPhone 1, iPhone 2, iPhone 3, but human beings is like, bro, you evolve, you grow, but you only celebrate on your birthday, like this aging process. You should allow a part of you to shed at least every 30 days. That's when I go. Like I just go, I look around, I think about all the lives that people have lived, and I think about, like I jokingly said, like who would fake, their death and they're still out here living because they're trying to get away from their old life. But now it just forces you to really just think like, yo, I'm blessed to be here. The old version of me, I'll make a list of like the things that are not serving me, and I just let it die. And I literally just move on. It's like, my mom always say, like, anybody can give you advice, but you gotta live with it. So when I'm there, like, I'm being real with myself, like, bro, you fucking suck at this, like, or whatever it is, and taking that understanding and saying, okay, I'm gonna let the things that are inadequate or the things that have been troubling me, I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna put together a strategy before I leave, or think about a nugget that I learned. So when I leave this place, this graveyard, I'm the new version of myself. And I think it's important, man. Like, it's weird because in the world, like, people know you as this. And then you come and they're like, bro, you changed. Yeah, you're right. You're supposed to. You don't look at the iPhone and be like, damn, this is different. Because you want it to be different. You want it to be better than the previous version. And I think that's what going to the graveyard does for me. It's an opportunity to address the old version of me, the inadequacies, and basically have like a rebirth and keep pushing. And it forces me to be accountable every single day. It's work, man. It's truly work for me.
How did you come up with the idea? Did you know somebody else doing it, or is it something that you just started doing?
In college, I would do something like I would go into the rooms, TSU has the Tiger Walk, right? Like this long brick road. But I would go up there and I would look out the window at the community center and I'll see everybody having a great time. And I remember like thinking about like, bro, like some people will in this experience, and this will be the highlight of their entire life. What if you can really just be accountable, like, yo, I'm not good at this, and I'm not good at that, and I can allow a part of me to die so I can enter this next experience good. It's just a reassessment, man. It's no different than like an accountant looking at the books, like, you guys need to stop selling mics because it's not working, you're losing money. That's literally all it is. It's the same thing. I go there, what's not working, what is working, what do I need to carry forward, what do I need to let go? But it's being at TSU and just realizing, like, bro, we all just moving and moving, but you gotta stop, really assess, like, are you okay? Are you feeling good? Are you really good? And just being comfortable, like I say, being naked in the mirror, like looking at yourself, like, bro, you suck, or bro, you amazing. And
I mean, I look in the mirror, I'm like, man, I'm handsome.
I mean, whatever it may be, but it's the reality of like
I feel you, though. I feel you.
being able to address yourself. And then last thing, we playing football in high school. The cool thing was like you get to watch the game over, you watch your practice, and it helped me realize, like, bro, we all are learning and growing, and you can evolve if you just analyze where you are. But you got to be honest. And the thing with film is like you can't tell the coach, man, I ran that route right. He's gonna be like, you did? What is this? And you can see. So that's the same thing. You go there, you're like, oh, this not that good. It could be better, but it's okay. And then you push forward, man. Push forward.
Yeah. So how would you make the Houston tech scene better for Black people?
Something in my head just saying, be honest. I don't be honest. It's gonna sound probably cheesy, but this is how I maneuver. You remember you told me at the beginning of this conversation or interview or just engagement that more often than not, when you went to UNC and you was able to engage and converse with a wide variety of people throughout the world, right?
Right.
And you realize we all are the same. The way that I would change the tech scene in Texas, America, or wherever the case may be, is to realize, like, make sure everybody has a fundamental understanding that we all are the same. And also realize how freaking powerful you are. Like, the spaces that I've been in, tech space is predominantly white. That's just the truth. But it can make you feel uncomfortable because you're the only one that look like you and have some of the similar stories. But at the end of the day, fundamentally, we're all the same. And in business, I have one rule. I don't do business with literally anyone that doesn't have 6 months of all their bills saved. And they won't show me. I'll show you. Don't have a credit score of 740 minimum. Because here's what happens. And I'm gonna answer your question, but this is like part of the thoughts. Here's what happens when people are desperate, they make dumb decisions. Right. And good people do that, right? But you said we all are fundamentally the same. It's just realizing that we all can equally contribute. We all can equally add value. But we lose when we believe that this or any other color didn't come from the same source and doesn't have the same ability. And we also lose when we compete unnecessarily. It's not like, come on, man, they throw away more food than they cook. That's statistics, you can look at it. Mm-hmm. So just understanding that there's power in collaboration, that's how we change. I will make sure we all understand that it's because we come from environments where it's not enough. So we enter the world where it's not enough, and it is. It's more than enough. And if you collaborate, you can multiply extremely fast. So that mindset and just understanding how powerful you are. You really do. And I'm gonna go back real quick. At the graveyard, you know what I realized too? You know how they say, like, oh, the graveyard is the richest place in the world?
Yeah, I heard that.
I don't believe it.
Why not?
Maybe this happened to you, maybe this hasn't. Have you had an idea that you didn't act on, but somebody else did?
Yeah, but like, there's no original ideas though.
I've had plenty, not for myself, but other people that have had ideas and they didn't act on it, and you ride and they're like, oh, I thought of that years ago. So if that's the case, then how can a graveyard be the richest place? Because if you didn't act on it and somebody else, you saw like, oh, I thought of that. I literally thought of that same thing, but you didn't move on it, right? So the graveyard can't be the richest place. The richest place is like in this physical form in terms of us being out here creating. And some of us have these ideas. You got to think, where did they come from? Why me? Like, okay, I guess it's my turn to do this. Some of us lean into that. Some of us be like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. That's too crazy. And then you driving. I thought of that. I don't, to be that person that's part of like, I don't want to be that. So that's part of the reason why I do the graveyard. But full circle, man, collaborative effort, unite in greater capacity, understand that there's no need to compete. It's more than enough. We can all eat. And the second thing, just realize we are all equally powerful.
Yeah.
And we want the same, like we all, no matter what the race is.
Yeah, and I like to ask a question that I already have an answer to, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. The one thing I've noticed about here is that if someone hasn't stamped you yet, then people won't really respect you. But when a certain person or people say, "Oh, dude, yeah," and then they with you, that's like the big thing that I've noticed here.
Yeah. The stamp of approval, right? I think it's just part of any process, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The thing that I noticed is like, can things move faster if people just know like what I'm working on is great right now, just join at this very phase? It would be nice. But again, I read this book, Principles and Power of Vision, Dr. Nuro. It stated in the book about your co-visionary, meaning people that somehow, some way are madly in love with the same thing that you're in love with and want to be committed to it in the same capacity as you. If one spends too much time trying to like get somebody that don't understand on board, you know what I mean? Or get a stamp of approval from someone so they can get this other person, you out of alignment. You just do what you do as best as you can, and the right people will come. Like, this is a true story, and I'll leave it at this. My lady and I were at Lowe's earlier today. Like life is different. I'm excited to go to Lowe's because we got this investment property, and like I'm doing everything in my power, and she is too, not to build another black and white house. I'm tired of seeing that. Like literally, like people buy homes for uniqueness, not for it to look like everybody else stuff. But
right.
We talk. I said, babe, we need somebody to do the shower and somebody to do the floor, right? And we eating on the go. We had Panda Express, grab food. We eating. We watched this interview about some billionaire, I forgot who it was. And then from there, we get out the car, right? This is to your point about stamp of approval. So we get out the car, we just start walking. This guy comes up, Fabio, he comes up, I didn't know his name obviously, but he walks up to us like, hey, I'm really good at doing floors and I can do the bathrooms. And I look at hands, I'm like, that's what we just talked about. So I said, hey, she asked, can you give us a card? So we get his card, and I stop. I said, hey, babe, let me just shoot him a text and let's see if we can get some of his work. I can show you. And my phone, this guy sent me like 70 pictures of all the work he's done. And I thought it was just, I'm like, bro, okay, I get it. You good. Like, why are you sending me so many pictures? As we shopping, like my phone, look at this, man. I could keep scrolling for days. Look at all this. But it's just understanding what's meant for you will happen, man. It's like you want to force it, you want to do it, and I get it. But yeah, that's pretty much understanding your co-visionaries exist in the world. You don't have to like force it, man. Because human beings, we want it on our timeline. I'm not trying to be religious in any capacity, but like it's just be in alignment. It's gonna work out.
Yeah. And I have like a thing that I always tell myself, and I kind of picked this up early. You know, don't waste your time sharing your vision with people who can't see it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, you know, there's people I've had ideas, and you know, I'm like, hey, what's up? You know, blah blah blah. Cold. They didn't respond. I just move on.
Think about this real quick.
And then I don't take it personal because
you shouldn't. Yeah, you should.
It's just you know, it has to be equal.
100%. Even with trap, right? Like how we meet on that. Like think about that.
Yeah.
Like how am I working on a lifestyle energy boost drink called Trap Immense, and you come from California, you working on Trap Talk. Like Come on, man.
Yeah, that was funny. I didn't know you was working on Trap Mix.
I didn't know you.
Because I called you or text you, and I was like, yo, what's up with it? Let's do an interview. And then you sent me a voice note. Now you got me on voice notes now. And I'm like, man, I'm lazy. I don't like texting no more. And then send me a voice note. And you was like, man, I think you said you was talking to your uncle or somebody. Yeah. And then you was like, yo, I'm working on this Trap Mix brand. I'm like, for real?
Right.
I'm like, okay. And then my mind started clicking. I'm like, okay. There might be something here for us. I'm like, but I gotta taste that drink first.
Yeah. Man. What do you think? Is it?
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
And then you was like, man, I was like, I'm waiting for my lady to test it, to drink it. He was like, where's she at? I'm like, bro, she ain't coming back in like 2 months.
Yeah.
He was like, man.
I wanted everybody.
And then I say, how many cups did I say for you? Like 2? Yeah, like 2.
2 cups. Was that enough? It was good.
They're gone.
They're gone. That's good. That's a testament to being a great drink.
Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
it's like you are one of those people who see the vision that I'm trying to paint, right? And it's like I think what we as people do is we try to like force feed, because I'm real big on like I've done marketing and sales and all that. Right. And so I'm real big on understanding who I'm targeting, right? Who's my target persona? Who am I really delivering this message for, and just hone in on that. Right. And making sure like they're with it. For sure. You know, I picked that up from sales. Like I was telling Carla earlier, like I learned really early on, like why am I wasting my time pitching this product to someone who doesn't even have the problem that I'm quote unquote trying to solve? Yeah. I just gonna move on. Yeah. You'll come back.
Yeah, they will.
You know?
They will every time. And I think you save so much time, and you to take this path of just believing that you can build something, you gotta have belief. But sometimes when you pitching something that's really great to the wrong people, your beliefs kind of go down. You're like, oh man, this probably won't work. But imagine like when you pitching to the right person, you feel invigorated. You're like, oh, bro, we gonna do this in a week. I said 10 years.
Yeah, like
it changes.
It was one person I approached, one of the many people I approached. I'm like, hey, I want to bring you, interview you. Right. He's like, yeah, I'm with it. And I'm like, whatever, man. I'm like, all right, exchange numbers. He's like, all right, what's up? What's the date? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So he's actually going to be my second interview.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Wherever it is, I'll be there.
It'll be here.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
Miss Carla, can I come back?
Yeah. But yeah, man, yeah, it's like me and you kind of like, it was funny how you was telling me, like, yeah, I normally don't call people back at 2:30 because I got my phone on silent, but you said you do a trap talk. I'm like,
it was perfect alignment, man. Perfect alignment. I want to share this too, like, in recent times, like, my auntie and I was having this hour-long conversation. You tell me if we're good on time or not, but we was having this hour-long conversation about just the world being different in the sense that everybody can build something now. Mm-hmm. Like you want a t-shirt brand? Do it. You want to do shoes? Do it. You want to do tech now? Like, do it. And I'm like, I like it. I love it. You know why? Because now all the mediocre stuff got to go away. It's either you put up or shut up, And that's the fun thing about the space that we're in the world now. Is like everybody has equal access to be able to create, which has never happened before. It's always been like, oh, you want to build something great, go work for this company. Or you want to build something great, go raise this amount, and maybe you can do it. Now we all can play this game of creation.
We can, but now the big problem is distribution, right? Okay. Like anybody can create stuff, and depending on what you create, you may need to raise money, right? If you're trying to make like a car, you probably need to raise money, right? But since everybody can create now, and so the cost of creating is so low for most of them, now it's just how do you get people to see you? And that's why I'm really big on like, doubling down on the culture, like where I come from, and just really speaking on to people who I'm trying to reach, because now my costs to market are like zero.
Yeah, because they understand.
Because I don't,
you're telling a familiar story.
Exactly.
I think that's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, so let's pick up the Traplaments, man. Put it in the camera so people can see it.
This drink here.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, man. It's cool.
Cool. So I don't have any questions. Anybody, y'all got a question y'all want to ask? No?
Please. One question.
What's next?
After we leave here? Oh, the journey?
So what, she said, what's your name?
Phyllis.
Phyllis says, what's next for you? What's next with Trapleman's Clevtech? What you said it's called Honey what? Honey Pot now?
Which one?
You said you changed the name of Clevtech?
No.
Oh, okay.
The solution we produce is called the Yummy Box, but the company is Clevtech.
Okay, got you.
I think, long story short, my significant other and I are just fascinated with building like affordable luxury homes, and we want to go all in on that. But I think more so than anything, what I foresee is just trying to be better at making sure the impact and the income are the two things that I'm focused on, and not one by themselves. Like, I'm not just focused on the income, I'm not just focused on the impact. I'm trying to keep those two eyes at the forefront of any creation that I'm working on. And I think what we're doing in the long run is just trying to increase transparency. One thing that annoys me greatly is people charging for information. I hate it, I swear to God. Like, people charging, like, oh, you want to learn how to do investment properties? Here's my blah, 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 and it costs blah, blah, blah. No, I don't like it. So like, whatever we working on, I will continue to like lead and like, this is how to do it. I'm only gonna charge you if you want to collaborate with me so we can scale up. But if you want to take my playbook, read it. And I think I learned that from just watching Elon. Like, here's my patents. Go build a Tesla. Maybe you can, maybe you won't.
I mean, well, he used Nikola Tesla's patent. So
Yeah.
his Tesla didn't invent that. They used
That's a whole nother story.
a whole nother story.
He's an amazing inventor that doesn't get enough credit, by the way. But,
So, and he got his inventions. You know who inspired a lot of his inventions? Or I know the Tesla coil. You know where that came from? Egypt.
oh wow.
Pyramid of Giza.
Wow.
Yeah.
Remember,
That's a long conversation.
No,
We ain't gonna have that right now.
We can end it at this. Just remember how powerful you are.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
I actually found out I'm Egyptian. Yeah. Ramsey the Third is my distant cousin. Yeah, I did a test. I was like, yo.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question.
Cool.
All right. Oh, go ahead.
Excuse
If
me.
there was anyone that are alive who you'd speak to, if they're not, who would you speak to? What question would you ask?
So let me repeat that. If there's anybody dead or alive that you would like to speak to, right?
Yeah.
That's a great one. I gotta go with the one that's coming to my head immediately. 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, primarily due to the fact that when I read his books, it's completely contrary to what he does in the public eye. It's like this guy is extremely strategic, but he looks like he's just poking fun or not really being extremely intentional about his decision deals, but everything that he does has some level of strategy behind it. So I find that fascinating just for a businessman to be able to play both sides, if you will. Like, I'm going to entertain you because that's what he does, but also I'm going to build something that is very profound. So I would love to.
I mean, that's free marketing though, right?
Yeah. True. That is true. Yeah. It's true. So that person. What about for you? Before we go.
Okay, I'll probably say it's an Ethiopian ruler, Menelik II. Ethiopian ruler, Menelik II. Not too many people know about him, but your question. I'd say Ethiopian ruler by the name of Menelik II. This is
Ethiopia.
He was a ruler around the time Africa was getting colonized, but he was one of the, I think maybe the only one to successfully resist colonization in his country.
Yeah.
And I want to pick his mind on how he's able to do that and what strategies did he follow to make sure he could secure his future for his people.
Wow. Let's say, like, hypothetically, you were able to talk to him, right? And he give you that nugget. What would you do with it?
I'd probably say, try to figure out what I could do present day with it in terms of if I'm going to go into business, how I can think strategically like he did and have the foresight that he did. Because I know he worked to not just secure the future for his people, but he did make sure you didn't try to create too many enemies while he was doing that and cause more harm than good.
I like it, man. Because once you get the answer, then you're responsible for, once you get the answer, you're responsible for taking action. So I like the fact that you'll do something with it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Truly amazing. What's next? Here we go. I know we gotta go.
Okay, well, what's next? I'm the author from Fraud to Freedom, which is a book on imposter syndrome.
Wow.
And what's next is I'm publishing a workbook specifically for Black people because I think the conversation on imposter syndrome is missing a lot of detail on what it means to experience imposter syndrome as a Black person, part 1, and part 2, what to actually do about it.
That's impactful, for sure.
I've dealt with that.
For sure. Damn.
I've dealt with that, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
How far have you come along? Like, you already got the books published and everything?
The book is written.
Okay, that's amazing.
I have the first chapter in like a visual format.
Okay.
And then I've sent out the first chapter to ask for feedback on the visual format. And then once I've got that together, just put in the rest of the book in the same format and then publish the book.
And I'm saying this selfishly, but I pray you stay with it and you do it. And the reason being is because now I think the world is different where like people are blindly being attacked because they don't really understand like how these algorithms work and like how they end up in echo chambers and stuff like that. But like understanding that sometimes in this modern world, how you feel as an imposter, like, or just don't feel inadequate, just in general, it comes from
the images you see.
The images you see, but you being able to say, wait, like this is the truth. This get to the center version of you, you can start noticing like, oh, this is nonsense. I am really as powerful as I believe that I am. And you guys
That's what the entire book is, like unpacking all the reasons that Black people feel like they're imposters and explaining why all of those reasons are false.
Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you. My bad.
I think I found my next person on the interview.
For real.
But yeah, we gonna wrap it there. Thanks, Dom, for coming out, sharing this game with us. Again, this is Corey from Corey State Trap and Trap Talks. Come see us again. We're gonna live stream again the last Thursday of each month. And we're gonna end it there. Thank you, and y'all have a blessed
I gotta say one thing, because otherwise I didn't do what I intended to do. Just want that. Everyone, like I always talk about, bet on yourself. I'm gonna be brief, but I encourage everyone to like lean into Lean Six Sigma certifications to be able to scale your operation. Because once you have the vision to get it to the people that you need, you really gotta understand how to scale and grow a business. Otherwise, you'll have a great idea that impacts 5 people, 10 people, when truthfully, if you just look into Lean Six Sigma certifications, every executive that work at Amazon, which is one of the biggest companies in the world, has one, but it'll unlock. Even Zara uses this principle. With your book, understanding this, you'll unlock even more. So that's the one nugget I would like to share before I go. But thank you, dude. I really appreciate it.
Cool.
Proud of what you're doing, man.
I'm proud of you too, bro.
Thank you sincerely.
We're gonna end it there. But thanks for everybody coming and joining the live stream. Take care.
Thank you.